On this episode, we talk about boxing versus wrestling, New Day taking over Raw, Sami Zayn versus John Cena, Bray Wyatt being stale, and more now on Byte That. Hello everybody and welcome. You're listening to episode 89 of Byte That, a weekly podcast where we talk about what we love, what we hate, what we like to discuss, which is the WWE and maybe the rest of professional wrestling. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, and of course, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. My name is Juan Velas. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we got a packed show. And because Raw hailed from Canada, I think it's only fitting we've welcomed first, all the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, people, we got Keith Poshik in here.
And even though our Puerto Rican host admitted it, we are still a international podcast. It's what makes us special, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's happening. Things are changing. If you guys don't like it, tell us to go back to the old way. Send us a tweet at ByteThatCast. And somebody that does tweet in the account, Mr. Ryan McNulty from Boston, Massachusetts, people.
What are you saying?
Juan, you could say I'm somewhat maybe a fan of the new intro. I'll leave it at that.
It's part of the process. Maybe it doesn't work, but you know what? That's the beauty of it. We can either edit or we can just go back to the old ways. The documents are there. But of course, I want to actually take a second and not talk about Raw. Talk about something that happened this past weekend, which was the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I know this seems kind of random, but not about the fight itself.
Boxing in our wrestling?
I know, right? Who would have thought, man? It's crazy. It's 2015. But the reason that I bring it up is because, you know, we've seen all this hype, right? Because people have been saying this fight was 5 years in the making. It was going to be the fight of the century. And, of course, Mayweather was involved in wrestling, which is partially the reason I even knew about this fight. I don't know about you guys.
Well, I
read the news. That's why
the hype machine was pretty big for this one. But the only reason I really did know about Mayweather was because of his involvement with WWE.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that happened. And I figured, you know, why not? I actually checked out the fight. A lot of people were watching, and then I figured it would be good water cooler talk. So round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 12, I was really bored, and the people were really pissed off. Mayweather won. You know, no chair shots happened. I was really disappointed. There were no heel turns or something like that. But what I actually want to get to, speaking seriously now, there's always this debate of, you know, wrestling is fake and all this stuff, then boxing is real, even though this seemed even more fake than wrestling because it was like Mayweather production. So the commentary team was just basically all on Mayweather. Just everything about it seemed one-sided. I wanted to get your feedback on the backlash that happened. Basically, people saying, you know, that they didn't get their money's worth. Some tickets were like $10,000 to freaking be there live. $10,000, man.
If you spend $10,000 on any ticket, quite frankly, you're never going to get your money's worth because you're a crazy person. But there's one person on this planet that really enjoyed that fight, I believe in my heart
Justin
of hearts.
Bieber?
And that person is, well, K2. I think that person is Bailey. Because really that fight was the hug of the century.
Touche.
It's the best way to describe it. But I mean, this is a good example of why wrestling is defined as sports entertainment. Really, the entertainment part is what sets wrestling apart from any of these other big sport events. Because you have that entertainment value where you know something big's going to happen. It's scripted. Yeah, okay, whatever. But at least you know something big, impactful, that leaves good water cooler talk is always going to happen.
You know, I actually wasn't as bored as most people were for this fight. But I also knew exactly what I was getting into, because if anyone who was getting all hyped up for this had taken maybe 5 minutes to go on YouTube and look at some Mayweather highlights, that they would see the type of boxer that Mayweather is. He's a very defensive boxer, and I know nothing about boxing, I'll put it that way, but just looking at a couple of videos, you can kind of see his style. He's very defensive, he's smart. He knows how to basically play the system of a boxing match and how to win it. And, you know, it's not exciting. It's not knockouts all the time. I believe he hasn't knocked anyone out in like years. He knows how to play the game to win.
He's a point boxer, people pointed out, yeah.
Yeah. So all these people were hyped up thinking it's going to be some, big slugfest. And that's just not the type of style that Mayweather fights with. So, people got all hyped up for nothing, really. I mean, and they, in the end, they made a ton of money. And hey,
way too much.
If there's one thing that's like wrestling and boxing, it's definitely how how much of a heel Mayweather is.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting booed, and they show like video packages where he's coming out with sombreros and stuff. Like, the guy knows how to work a crowd and be a heel.
So the thing that I want to ask you guys is that, did this fight make you appreciate wrestling that much more? Because the reason that I watched it is because I pretty much only invest time in wrestling, not any other sport. And I figured, maybe it's good that I start doing this. But after that, I appreciate it so much more of what the product is.
If it didn't cost like $100 for the pay-per-view, I might have been more inclined to want to tune in more and stuff like that. But I feel like the way that boxing handled this whole situation was just one big cash grab. Like, it was the only time they were ever going to get money from anyone, which is kind of true, because the way they did it, nobody else is going to care about boxing again for years. Where if they made it a little more accessible and, even if it didn't live up to the hype, they might have got more people's interest. But now people are just thinking, that's what I paid $100 for. I'm never doing any of this again.
And it's justified, because I won't.
Yeah, which brings us to Monday Night Raw, guys, which cost $0.
Something that we would pay money for, because really it doesn't cost us money, but in the long run, think about all these subscriptions and pay-per-views we paid for in the past.
And time is money, right? So we technically pay for
exactly.
Raw. Justified.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Justified.
So I want to get an overall feedback. Once again, we did not watch Raw together, so everything that I'm about to find out, everybody else is also. Raw was in Canada, which usually is a way more active crowd, and they were. Like, the entire night, I freaking love when WWE goes...
Are you saying Canadians are more awesome?
So the WWE, did an excellent job of picking a great audience. I want to get your feedback on just the overall reaction to how you felt when Raw closed down.
I thought it was a pretty solid show. Definitely the best Raw in a while. I would even put it above the Raw after Mania, just because it didn't just completely die in the last hour like that one did. They did a good job of developing. They developed a good amount of characters here and just had some exciting moments.
Agreed. It was just one of those cases where the crowd really enhanced the show. And they weren't just all like crazy, oh, let's actually hijack the show. But the actual good content on Raw, which there was a lot of, and the crowd worked together to make it just a really fun viewing experience.
No, absolutely. And I'll agree 100%, Ryan, that I thought this was a way better Raw than the Raw after WrestleMania. There was not a dull moment in this Raw. I was actually doing DDP yoga at some points, and I enjoyed all of it. I'll be honest. Like, even the things that I knew, maybe people will say like, they're kind of dull or something. When the audience is involved, you kind of need a dull moment just to, give a little bit of breather, because otherwise the things that happen later don't really make you pop all that much. So I didn't mind those moments at all. I don't know about you guys.
That's a fair evaluation.
So having said
that, I was just going to say before you cut me off that we know that Raw tries to appeal to such a wide audience that you're not going to love every segment, and it's pretty rare that out of the 3 hours that you even enjoy most of it a lot of times. So for you to even like the majority of the show speaks a lot, especially, given how much content is put into 3 hours.
That's a really good point, because my expectation is, of the 3 hours, if I get a solid hour out of it, that's a pretty good Raw.
Sometimes that's saying much.
They don't always hit that point, but from that point of view, they really hit it home this week.
And of course, we got to talk about the confirmed match change for Payback. So they announced that Seth Rollins was going to be taking on Dean Ambrose. And I don't know about you guys, but I thought there was zero chance of Dean Ambrose actually winning. I thought maybe it was just a way to stall or something like that. But we get a small package. We get a schoolboy roll-up, and we have a fatal four-way now for Payback. That's the sort of the moment where I realized this Raw is just freaking awesome because I was already having a good time. And they had an amazing match. I think it was one of my favorite matches of the year. Like, to the point, I had to pause DDP Yoga. So they effectively shortened my lifespan because I didn't finish my mixtape, okay?
It was definitely completely unexpected.
Life-changing.
Yes. Well, no, we had, when you heard the announcement, you figured it was just kind of a way to add stakes to their match, but you didn't think Ambrose was going to get in. You figured the whole Reigns, Orton, Rollins thing was just kind of already locked down and it wasn't going to change. So for them to do this and kind of make it a fatal four-way, Dean Ambrose, who's just kind of been floating in the mid-card for a long time now, you wouldn't think they would just catapult him right into the title match. So it was a nice surprise and just much, much needed momentum for Ambrose.
It's like somebody woke up and remembered that Dean Ambrose was still on the show. But I think the most exciting part that we're kind of dodging right now is we were so close to a triple threat with the Shield now. If you just took out Randy Orton, then we would have had this dream triple threat match.
Does that water down a future match with the Shield, though? Is that like a concern for you guys?
Absolutely not. I think that's going to be a WrestleMania match down the line, and I'm saying like years. If we had a DX reunion in 2006, I mean, I'm thinking that like 5-6 years when people, it's crazy how relevant the Shield is. I was watching during Raw, and I know I'm kind of like sidetracking a little bit, but I want to make this this question, which is, how amazing is it that the Shield managed to stay so relevant? But, things like the core, the Nexus, all of these things, they all led up to one guy. But here's a pay-per-view where it's fatal four-way. 3 out of the 4 guys came in at the same time in the roster, but they have completely different development, completely different crowd reactions, and they're all up to date.
I just really think it goes to help show the strength of the actual Shield itself. Like when you mentioned the core, the Nexus, it was a bunch of individuals that made a strong group. The difference between them and the Shield is that it was a bunch of strong individuals that made an even stronger group. So you weren't really worried like when the Shield broke up. So the least important role that a member has on the roster is the fact that he's on the higher end of the mid-card. Like, that says something real special.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that the Shield was booked and that they never kind of downtrended. They went out on top, so it really helped them transition into a prominent role because they were super over right when they broke up. So people were so heavily invested in them, and it was very easy to transition that into everybody's singles career. But I mean, Ambrose obviously is the one who's, kind of had the least success of the 3 so far, but maybe this is just kind of what he needed to get kind of catapulted back into that spot.
Now, I'm going to sort of put the tinfoil hat on. The past couple of weeks I brought up the fact that the Roman Reigns build from Royal Rumble to now is one of the best I've seen in WWE for a very long time. Whether you like him or hate him, just point for point, they're taking care of him so much to the point where, think about it. In WrestleMania, he had a one-on-one match. It was his spotlight. It was his time, right? But then Seth Rollins cashed in triple threat. In this match, it's like, okay, I have a triple threat match, but I still have that opportunity. Dean Ambrose is in it now. Realistically, as a character, if he ever were to turn face, a heel, or like just something, turn on Dean Ambrose as a double face, whatever they want to do, there's so many options because as a character, you can't help but wonder, he's got to be pissed off.
Yeah, you make a real good point. You kind of hit that one home there.
Well, I guess the only thing that's left is to transition to the opening of Raw, because we had Randy, we had Seth, and then we had the New Day. Who last week we were saying finally, they're doing something with them. So WWE's way of saying, you know what? We're just going to put them on the whole freaking show, the whole time. Like every segment, they are going to somehow be in there. And I loved all of it. And I want to ask you guys, what do you think of just not the opening, but the fact that they pretty much took over Raw?
Ever since the New Day changed, they've just found exactly what they needed. They're now these comedic heels that are just awesome. Has there ever really been this strong of a swing from going like to barely being on the card to being in every single segment with a group, and not only that, but hitting it home.
Not an obvious one that I can think of. Mind.
Yeah. So they're kind of special like that.
I know. I really loved that the New Day were just all over the show. I think they killed it in every segment. Even Kofi is getting better.
Finally.
With his... Yeah, he's getting better on the mic. Like, I was really digging it because a lot of times you watch Raw and it feels like, okay, John Cena's going to come on, he's going to do his segment, and that's it for the rest of the show. A lot of times, it'll open, like, you're going to see a couple guys at the end of the show who are at the beginning. But it's nice that every once in a while, you'll just kind of see a group or somebody multiple times throughout the show. So they really gave the spotlight to the New Day this week. And I thought they were amazing. I mean, even just the little things of like the Bellas walking by and they're just like celebrating and stuff, that just adds a little bit to them. Because like, awesome. I think someone commented on Squared Circle or something that, the way that they set it up, it kind of made you imagine like after they beat Orton and Reigns that they were just backstage the whole rest of the night, just celebrating the whole time because they were so happy. And that just, it adds a little bit of much needed depth.
And I think the most crucial part of this is that it actually makes me want to see the New Day win. Like, if they got that win, imagine if they get a bigger win. Are they just going to keep celebrating and celebrating and celebrating until they die eventually?
And it's also nice that the tag team champions, beat a couple of relevant people, and it really solidifies that, hey, tag teams that are champions or whatever are greater than, the sum of them is greater than two strong individuals,
I mean, the tag team champions a few weeks ago lost to Orton in a handicap match. So
exactly. This is a good contrast to that.
The cool thing is that it happened at the beginning of Raw, because I remember when Shelton Benjamin beat Triple H at the conclusion of a Raw way back in the day. Like, that was cool, but then you have to wait till next week. But here we got to see a team that's like heel at the very beginning. So you see the whole show for 3 hours. They're just celebrating. And it reminded me a lot of when Jericho came back for his last heel run, where he came out like overly babyface, didn't say a word. Then by the end of that, people were booing him. I think that they're doing such an amazing job because they know that if they're way too obnoxious and entertaining, then people will cheer them, even though people were booing them because they needed to be cheered, so they were booed. And now it's like the opposite. So I think that just shoving them down our throats is the perfect balance right now.
Plus, the fact that the whole New Day sucks chant is really fun to do is actually really good for them because the crowd will want to do it regardless, so they'll get that heat that way.
No, and it's the perfect... they're pretty much flawless. Think about it, because... They went
from like the worst group ever to just being amazing
to amazing
like, overnight.
Because they cater to every group. Think about it. So you got the little kids, right? That maybe they just have the obnoxious guys that they like to boo because they're so freaking obnoxious, Mom. They don't shut up. You don't need to overanalyze their characters. They just like to show off. Then for the smarky crowd, for the podcast audience like us and all that stuff, guess what? We know that the three guys are very talented. It was a matter of simply, finding the right thing for them, and they cater to us as well. So I think it's just freaking awesome.
I agree. And to you listening in listener land, our sexy listeners, if you ever need a little perk up in your day, you're having a bit of a bad day, just take a minute. Imagine when Xavier Woods and Kofi lifted Big E above their shoulders and he was like, "Roar!" And then just smile, because it's been working for me all day. It was probably my favorite moment from Raw.
And we've now officially spent a good chunk of 2 podcasts gushing about the New Day.
It goes to show that anything can happen in wrestling. I want to bring up a quick thing. So, of course, last week we talked about the King of the Ring. If you stay tuned till after the podcast ended, I actually had a quick comment about the fact that Bod News Barrett became the King of the Ring. And now my worry was that he was just going to become the next King gimmick. And he is. So he is now King Barrett.
Yeah.
So
justified.
What do you guys think about that?
It's somewhat disappointing that they're getting rid of Bad News, because that was one of the best things that they had going in a very long time. But I guess now he's King Barrett, and hopefully he just doesn't fall into mediocrity in the next 12 months.
It's like, yay, I get it, you know, because he's British, he gets to have a crown and a scepter and everything. And I know
because of the royal baby,
yes.
So now he's a king. Wow.
I don't like that recently with the King of the Rings, at least the last few that they've done, it's that they gotta wear, you know, the stupid outfit for like a long time and they just make it their gimmick. It worked for King Booker and he was definitely super obnoxious, but that doesn't mean I want to see it again.
And the funny part is it doesn't make sense because it's the king of the ring. But they just seem to like cater to the king part. They forget that, you know, there is a ring element to it. That they should probably just be, you know, if you won that, you should probably just keep doing that. Don't change your character. It doesn't work. That, and I don't think he has a wife that maybe can show up and then all hail King Barrett, which when he said that, there was no way that I wasn't channeling King Booker in there, man. You know what? And let's take a little moment to channel this week's
I'm a S.C.A.F man. I'm a S.C.A.F man.
S.C.A.F.
S.C.A.F infection.
S.C.A.F.
It's the S.C.A.F.
S.C.A.F.
I'm a S.C.A.F man.
S.C.A.F. S.C.A.F. S.C.A.F.
S.C.A.F. It's the S.C.A.F.
I'm a S.C.A.F man.
S.C.A.F time. Once again, a thank you to the sexiest member of the Byte That Cast, Mr. Roach McPoach, for that theme. Almost
Roach
slipped
McPoach.
on that one. Kept going. Roach McPoach for that amazing theme for the S.C.A.F. It just makes it better, don't you guys think?
Of course.
So anyway,
on to this week's S.C.A.F. It is a incredible post by Reddit user Mark316, and it is titled, Cena's promo from Raw last night should be studied by anyone who wonders how or why he's still the top guy. Are you ready?
yes, because why not?
Okay. Now, it's done in the first person, but this means Mr. Mark316. It's not my opinion. It's Mr. Mark's. Okay. I'm a 27-year-old male who loves Daniel Bryan, the NXT guys, Ring of Honor, etc. If you looked at me, you'd probably bet I'm less Let's Go Cena and more Cena sucks. I'm not about to buy the whole Cena shirt, wristbands, hat, towel, do-rag combo, but I know why Cena is the face of the WWE. The Montreal crowd last night was primarily anti-Cena when he came out. They kept singing John Cena sucks to the tune of his theme long after the music had stopped, and that was awesome, by the way. They chanted multiple times about things unrelated to his promo, and he tried at least once unsuccessfully to get the crowd with him. Then they chanted for Sami Zayn, and Cena acknowledged their passion. They cheered once, and then Cena had the whole crowd in the palm of his hand. From there, it was references to a specific crowd member, and when he asked the crowd if they would say, I quit, when somebody put a mic in their face, they all said no in the span of a few minutes. Cena worked a hostile arena and got them to interact with him instead of chanting at him. He didn't brainwash them into buying a Cena shirt, but he worked them into helping his promo instead of hurting it. That, along with his in-ring work, when was the last time he had a genuinely bad match, is why he's still on top. Nobody does it like Cena. Separate but related to what he did after his promo, the match he had wasn't perfect, but it was great. He definitely has enough pull backstage to say, no, this guy's not kicking out of the AA or getting to the ropes to break an STF. Cena did all but lose to that kid and made him look like a huge star.
Thanks, Keith, for that awesome scat. By the way, just a couple of quick plugs. Remember, we do have an Instagram page. You can check us out there. We have a page on Wrestling Amino. Just look up Byte That. We have a brand new Square Roundtable. If you don't know what the Square Roundtable is, basically it's the topics that we do not cover on the podcast. We have a video version. Think of it as a mini podcast. It's on our YouTube channel. This week, we talk about superheroes if they were to be integrated into the world of wrestling. And a couple of quick news, actually. This Friday, I'm going to be live streaming myself playing WrestleMania 19's Revenge Mode on our Twitch channel. That's twitch.com/ByteThat.
Twitch.tv/ByteThatCast is where you will find that.
Thank you, Keith. And Keith will actually be with me, so it's going to be on Friday night.
I will.
Stay tuned to the...
I can't let him sink that ship alone. I have to be down there for that.
Exactly. So, you know what? Whether you like WrestleMania 19 or not, you can come hang out with us. We want to do something different, have a chance to interact with you guys. I know J4 Gaming's going to be there. You have to be there because I called you out. So, you have to be there. Hopefully, Roach McPoach will be there. I don't know who's going to be there, but hopefully you will. Now, the reason that Keith brought up that S.C.A.F is because the next thing...
Something amazing happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, amazing.
The Raw featured... The Raw. I don't know what's happening tonight. But Raw featured an awesome match that... I don't know if there were rumors or not because I tried to black myself out from any wrestling news, but we got John Cena taking on Sami Zayn. And there's the promo that John Cena had. What is wrong with me? But the promo that John Cena had during that match before. Okay, can I just quit this podcast? You know what? I'm just gonna.
Cena had a promo.
Yes.
Then
it was great. I just went over it in extreme detail about how great it was.
Yeah,
exactly.
So we know about that. And then Bret Hart comes out.
Hits
and it's
later.
Montreal, so they're all excited.
Exactly. And then Sami Zayn came out and he popped his shoulder. Just doing his entrance, so that is...
Yeah, I went back and watched the GIF or GIF. No, it's GIF, right?
It's GIF.
No, it's GIF.
It's GIF.
I swear the creator said it's like the peanut butter. Anyway.
All right,
tweet
is
us
it GIF or GIF? Tweet us at ByteThatCast and tell us which one it is.
Either way, I'm going to say
fun
GIF.
pronouncing that in text, and I'm going to say GIF.
He's getting the crowd pumped up when he's on the stairs, and you actually see his arm like dislocate. Like he throws his arms up, and then his right arm or left. Wait, was it his right arm? Oh, his left arm. It just like whiplashes back. It's crazy.
It left me thinking like maybe when Sami Zayn has to get checked by the doctor in every single one of his matches, maybe there's some legitimacy to it.
Yeah, so think about just how amazing this was, because not only did we get that John Cena promo, which, you covered that way better than I clearly can right now, but then we had Sami Zayn debut on Raw, or re-debut, I guess you can say. Then he pops...
Singles debut?
Yeah, singles debut. He pops his shoulder before the match even starts, okay? So it's not like halfway, a spot happened or something like that. No, the match is yet to start. It's arguably his biggest match in his wrestling career. John Cena on Raw, Canadian crowd, it's the defining moment of his career. And he has a freaking awesome match with a dislocated shoulder, people. Wow. There's nothing else but to say than wow. I want to get your reactions. What do you guys think of the match?
It was definitely my favorite part of Raw. It was just it was awesome to see Sami Zayn, especially with a crowd that knew exactly who he was, and he just had an amazing match with Cena, despite the fact that he was pretty seriously injured. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. There were, a few botches, including Sami Zayn kind of having to no-sell an AA, because it's like he still kind of landed on his ass and just went with it.
Yeah.
So it was a little murky there, but like everything else was so good that it more than made up for it.
Agreed. And it was just a solid match. Like Ryan said, it was my favorite segment on Raw. But how crazy is it that Sami Zayn kicked out of an AA in his debut? Like, that's nuts. That the impact of that is insane. Like, I think every single person that wrestled on the WWE roster between 2004 and 2009 should be so mad about that.
To me, that's the exact moment, and especially for people who weren't aware of who he was, is just for them to go, whoa. Like, that's the moment where you're like, damn, like, this kid has something.
Did you also notice that the tone of the commentary kind of changed in that match? Where
man.
Michael Cole was actually calling moves. Like, it wasn't just, oh, what a power bomb. He straight up called it the Blue Mountain Bomb or Blue Thunder Bomb. Yeah. Like, how crazy is that?
He said every one of the names of his moves. So I don't know if I wonder if Triple H was the one, like, in his ear during that match. because it was much different than usual.
It's interesting because if you think about it, they're treating the NXT guys that are being called up way different than the rest of the roster. I mean, they did that with Neville because it's funny how they pretty much never bring up NXT, right? Then Neville debuts and it's all of a sudden there's this rich history of NXT things that you got to check out. Then Sami Zayn debuts, and then once again, it's like all these things that are happening that never get brought up, but then this guy gets pulled up, and it definitely... It made me, who watches NXT on a weekly basis, almost be like, damn, Sami Zayn is a huge star. And this is somebody that watches the show every week, and it goes to show, once again, we complain about this so much, but when the commentary is on par with what's happening, they treat it as a sport, not as a joke, especially between JBL and Cole, the outcome is just so awesome. I was just happy with this match. And I know what you brought up, Ryan, that the match did have its things that we can nitpick, but if anything, the shoulder injury sort of made it better because, holy crap, your shoulder dislocated before the match, and all of this still happened. He still did the torpedo DDT, all these things. So there is a question that I know somebody sent us, which was... Cody Kale actually sent us a question. I'm going to bring it up right now, which is, do you think Sami Zayn's match on Raw was just a one-off since he's still listed as a NXT superstar? I think that this is a really good way to test the audience, and then we will see him within the next month or two, probably before SummerSlam. What do you guys think?
I agree completely. I think for now it's a one-off. You could kind of tell because he didn't really have his own Titantron and stuff and little background thing. It was still an NXT background. But in this case, I kind of wish that we didn't record on Tuesdays because I'm pretty sure that answer will be super clear at the NXT pay-per-view later this week, whether he'll be staying or going. But yes, I expect to see... Sami Zayn on the main roster very, very soon. Is it this week?
I think it might be the week
after. It's the 20th.
Is it the 20th?
I'm super disappointed now. Oh.
Pay attention, folks.
I don't think this is his official debut. I think because they were in Montreal and it was like a semi-promotional thing for NXT's upcoming event / having him come answer the challenge in his hometown. But I think we are going to see him relatively soon, just not quite yet, because I think it's a little too close to Neville's debut. And I think that, they want to concentrate on Neville as the new guy. And then, Sami Zayn will be up there soon. When you have a match like that, you're not going to stay in NXT too much longer, I don't think.
Agreed. So where does the John Cena Open Challenge go from here? Is this going to be the end of it? Because you can't really beat that.
I think it's just going to keep happening until we almost forget about the fact that it's an open challenge. I think that whoever gets the title from him is going to be like a huge deal. I think it's going to be almost bigger than the streak in the way that, let's face it, the streak at the end of the day, Undertaker wrestled one night a year at this point, so it didn't really mean all that much. But when John Cena loses the championship now, he's still there every single week, as he always likes to point out. So I don't know if it's going to be in the I Quit match where it happens. Obviously, there's the whole Lana thing that's obviously going to end up turning face. But there's a bunch of options. So I'd say just sort of sit this one out, and then we'll slowly get an idea of where it's going to go. So in terms of character progression, we got Ryback coming out on Raw. And then just to sort of summarize, Bray Wyatt showed up on screen. He did his Bray Wyatt thing, but Ryback was on ring this time. So obviously this is a feud that is going to continue happening. I don't know. I mean, I know I brought up in the show that I'm looking forward to it because it's different. But for whatever reason, when that actually took place, when they faced off, even if it was on screen, I felt so neutral about it. I don't know about you guys, but I just wasn't feeling anything.
Well, the feud itself is different. I think the lukewarm reaction comes from Bray Wyatt himself, because what he's doing isn't really all that different. It's kind of falling back into this whole, Wyatt's saying something crazy again this week, over and over and over and over thing. It's almost like a remake of the whole world in his hands thing that happened about this time.
Let's call a spade a spade. Bray Wyatt is stale. He's just doing the same exact thing. I'm kind of tired of just seeing him in a smoky room on a Titantron every single week. He almost doesn't even really show up in the ring anymore. And I know maybe they're trying to have it be like he's more mysterious and you don't always get to see him, but his promos a lot of times are just kind of hollow words, and it's all just kind of a bunch of talk, and it doesn't really have any consequence. And every Bray Wyatt feud is now kind of just falling into a formula, and it's really depressing because I think like there is so much potential. And Ryback's promo was okay too. I don't think it just didn't really go anywhere different. It just felt very much like any other promo he cuts, and it's like those two combined, it's not exciting at all.
Yeah, because it's two guys that have had the very similar path, you know, with John Cena, with all these things where they were so close all these times, yet for whatever reason they came back down. So it seems that when they're facing each other, it's just like, well, they got to do something, right? Because they've been here long enough. So just put them against each other. And yeah, Bray Wyatt, that character, I just don't care about anymore because I can't believe his message. And at the end of the day, a character, you're supposed to believe him. Undertaker, of course, there's the mystique and all that, but you know, I never think, oh, Mark Calloway, because I'm a smart and I know the insides. No, that's the freaking Undertaker. At this point, it just feels like it's somebody playing Bray Wyatt that clearly needs a character change because they're going nowhere with him.
He doesn't necessarily need to change his character. They just need to do more with it. They need to have some deeper meaning behind it. He needs some sort of motivation. It's just, you know, oh, me and you, we're kind of the same, blah, blah, blah. This is about I know this about your life, like, run away. There's no actual substance to it. And it's kind of weird. I feel like the whole Undertaker feud did nothing for him. He's nothing, you know, it doesn't seem like he's been elevated at all or anything like that. And I don't know if it's bad writing or whatever it is, but something with Bray Wyatt needs to change because, you know, there's so much potential and he should not already be stale.
I think the key piece that is missing is that there's no, like, Bray Wyatt doesn't have any strength to him. He calls himself the new face of fear and all that.
But why should we believe that?
Why should we fear him when he's a guy that just loses and loses and loses? That's what makes his words hollow. There's no intimidation to Bray Wyatt. He's just basically a rambling madman at this point.
Kind of a weird example, but Roman Reigns. You know, it's like, imagine if Roman Reigns throughout everything, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, always had the same message. He's still the same character, but he was self-aware. You know, if somebody was booing him, it's like, yeah, that's the thing that's happening. My character's going to change. Bray Wyatt seems like he's in denial. Like, he'll lose and just not reference the fact that he lost. Lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Hey, guess what? I'm the new face of fear, people. I just can't buy it.
No, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
No, the wins and losses have no consequence to his character. Like, why wasn't, after losing to The Undertaker, this guy that he, you know, in a way he worshipped and wanted to take his place, why was he not at all fazed by the fact that he lost? Shouldn't he be like a broken man that has to rebuild himself? He's questioning his life. Like, you know, I thought I was going to usurp you and I failed. Like, where's that struggle? Like, he needs that.
The crazy part is they started working towards that in the match itself. Like, during the match with The Undertaker, he slowly started to become more and more afraid of The Undertaker. And then by the next 2 weeks, it's like, oh, everything's okay. That never happened. I'm the new face of fear. It's just something didn't work out. I don't want to say bad writing, but
no,
maybe.
It's completely bad writing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not to toot my own horn, but what I just said would have been like a way better route to take. And like, I was getting excited just thinking about it because there you go. A win or a loss affected a character. And, you know, there was a new story because of it, instead of just doing the same routine you just did with The Undertaker. I'm sorry, but a program you work with The Undertaker should not be the exact same thing that you do with Ryback.
No, and to make matters worse, and I know we're talking about this a lot, but let's face facts. Bray Wyatt is somebody that can have a very, very long-term career in the WWE. And I know we may be looking back in like 6 years. Hey, remember when we talked about that? Funny how things change. But he self-carried that Undertaker feud, and that's what killed him. because I think if the payoff was that he beat The Undertaker and became the face of fear, or lost and became denial, it would have paid off because, okay, so he carried that, you know, those promos every week. Undertaker wasn't even there, and we bought the feud. But we got over a month of Bray Wyatt talking to himself, basically, lose, and then just talk to himself some more. So it really sucks. I want to get some feedback for those listening. What can they do with Bray Wyatt, or are you interested in this Ryback feud? Because we can talk about this for like 2 more hours. It's really frustrating because it's the one character. With Dean Ambrose, it feels like they're sort of doing something now, not too much, but I'd almost rather have a triple threat feud between the Wyatt family than I am this Ryback feud right now. And talking about something a little bit different, I want to give a couple of minutes to the Divas division because they are finally progressing with something. We didn't really have much of a chance to talk about it last week, but yeah, Naomi is like a full-blown heel. She is a partner now with Tamina Snuka, and they're doing the whole family thing because even though they're not blood-related, obviously thanks to Naomi's husband, you know, they're trying to sort of tie that up with the Bella twins, so it's family. And I'm looking forward to it. I like this aggressive Naomi. I think that she was overly faced as a Funkadactyl. And they have a Divas feud that it happens to feature the Divas Championship because it's in there somewhere, but we don't need it.
I honestly just think it's a way for them to have a successful feud and just stall until Paige gets back, so then Paige can take the title.
And I like that Tamina's back. You know, she's been away for a long time, and it's like people pretty much like completely forgot about her. But you know, she's really good at just being physically dominant. And like Naomi, you know, maybe she can be kind of less like Sasha Banks and more like Naomi. I mean, more like more like Tamina, where they. Like, she's more like Tamina in the way that they kind of become, like, very, you know, the physically dominant, tough divas, you know, taking on the supposedly more kind of, like, you know, pretty Bella twins that are, you know, not as tough or whatever.
And I do like that they scaled back her character, if you notice, because first, when she turned heel, she was pretty much Sasha Banks. I was actually really pissed off because it seems like, oh, a diva has to turn heel, so just make her I won't say the word, but you guys know. And it sucks because why? You know, there are so many ways you can turn a diva heel. There's an article speculating that the WWE doesn't even have faces or heels. It's just a bunch of crazy women. That's not me saying it, but that was an article. And it's really hard to state otherwise. So I hope that they do change this because it seems like all the divas have this similar character. You know, think about Alicia Fox. Oh, she went crazy. Paige's heel character. Oh, you know, she had to mock AJ, who happened to be crazy. Why does that always need to happen?
It's a good question. Nobody knows the answer to it. Obviously, there can be more ways that a woman can be bad other than being crazy.
I said it last or a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again. There's ways to do the whole no faces, no heels right. Divas division is not a good example of that.
Absolutely not. So before we go to the questions, all of you have sent some really good ones in there. I want to talk about a couple of quick things. So after Raw, they premiered WWE 24 Roman Reigns Never Alone. I actually watched it this morning. Just want to give an overall feedback. It's a 30-minute show that takes a look at the build all the way towards WrestleMania. To summarize, I think it's pretty awesome. I love the fact that the series is actually short because it makes you want more. I don't think they could have stretched this out for an hour if it led up to WrestleMania without it getting stale or sidetracking a lot. So personally, I'm a big fan of this 24 thing. They also had one with Booker T, which was also really good. So have you guys watched it? And if not, then check it out.
I watched it.
What?
I actually watched something.
What?
I thought I'd surprise you and tell you that I actually watched it.
Did you, though?
I really did.
Well, what do you think? Okay, I must get this review.
I thought it was nice. See, the fact that it was 30 minutes meant that I could watch it during my lunch break today, so I was able to enjoy it then. No, it's really cool. You get to see, like, you know, that backstage kind of look. I mean, you get to see Brock Lesnar in a suit. Worth the price of admission
so
right there.
In a suit, man.
Exactly.
No, it's cool. And they just had that awesome shot of Brock Lesnar there, and then like that Terminator thing coming up.
And then Vince McMahon just kind of clawing at Brock like, oh, you're here. You're here.
And also, they cut out the curve stops, so you know that stuff's gone.
It never existed.
Like, they just panned, they got a shot of the kid. But, no, it was really cool. And you definitely, anytime you just get an inside look at a wrestler, like, almost 100% of the time, almost, you just gain more appreciation for them and everything. And just seeing him with his family and how he interacts with fans, you definitely just, you get to know Roman Reigns more. And I thought this was a very well done piece.
WWE 24 is easily my favorite thing on the network right now. You know, I would almost say it's better than NXT as far as like programming goes. I love it, and if it can't be longer, I just wish there was more of it. Like maybe bi-weekly, weekly. I just want more of it because they're all so dang good.
Yeah, because NXT is its own product, but this complements the product so well. I was watching it this morning. My thought was, this is what I want the network to be. If they had more stuff like this, I would watch it pretty much every day because, you know, the old stuff is nice, but we brought it up, the Attitude Era stuff. A lot of it isn't really good. So,
you know, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
God, is it eye-opening.
So the other quick thing I wanted to bring up, there are 2 podcasts this week with some very good interviews. The Sheamus one and Talk is Jericho is actually from last week, but I had a chance to check it out. It is awesome. It made me appreciate Sheamus way more. And these podcasts, once again, it's the reason that I sign up for the network, even though this has nothing to do with it. But it's so nice to just hear these guys talk and just, you know, all the sacrifices they've had to put up. And just Sheamus, you know, talking about all the hate that he knew he would get at that 18-second match at WrestleMania, which Keith and I were at. And the other thing that I want to bring up is that on Stone Cold's podcast, posted today also on Tuesday, he had the part 1 of his interview with Dixie Carter, TNA president. Very interesting interview also. She talks about a lot of the things that TNA gets a lot of hate for. And for me, it really made me want to go back into watching the product. I have been watching it through YouTube and just, you know, tuning into Destination America, but I may want to actually watch more of it. So have you guys listened to either one?
I'm halfway through the Dixie Carter one, so it's just getting to the part where she talks about TNA, so can't quite comment on it yet.
And I'm very behind in my podcasting, so nope. I pulled a Ryan.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, but yeah, for those listening, you got to check them out. I love these podcasts so much. I mean, we have a podcast, and I think the cool thing is just that all this, it is contemporary wrestling.
We have a podcast?
Yeah, I know, we do. We're actually on it right now.
Huh.
I have a quick thing I want to talk to you guys about. Did you guys hear about the whole Michelle Beadle situation?
Yes.
So
Contextify people.
Michelle Beadle on ESPN, she was basically WWE's best ambassador for getting on mainstream sports news and everything. Obviously, Bill Simmons, also associated with ESPN, is another contact. But going back to the whole Mayweather-Pacquiao thing, Triple H sends out a tweet basically supporting Mayweather. And Michelle Beadle, who I guess has been against, is, you know, very strongly against Mayweather because of his domestic violence involvement and all of that. Basically, she says she's boycotting WWE because Triple H supported Mayweather. A lot of people speculate because she didn't get a press pass for the fight. That's why she was angry and she's just taking it out on WWE as opposed to ESPN or something like that. But just kind of comments on her not being associated, how that affects WWE.
My first comment is grow up. And I know that's going to sound controversial because obviously Mayweather has had all these allegations about assault towards women and all that. But let's be honest here, okay? We're actually taking the tinfoil hat off. If we were to ethically talk about whether we should watch wrestling or not, there's a reason that Benoit gets blacked out. There are murderers with an S that are in the Hall of Fame. There's a guy in the Hall of Fame that has given people STDs. So I'm pretty sure that Mayweather being supported by Triple H is not the first thing. It should not be the primary reason. Come on.
Yes. Mike Tyson, a convicted rapist, is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Abdullah the Butcher, Jamie Snuka has a bad past. Chris Jericho punched a woman once. Stone Cold had his thing. I mean, do we need to go on?
Chris Jericho, that was an accident.
But it happened. You know, based on her tweet, it's like...
Stone Cold's, on the other hand, not so much.
Yes.
Yeah, so people, let's be real about it. Wrestling, we love watching the product, but we know the behind the scenes isn't exactly... all that great.
No, it's a total overreaction. And Michelle Beadle, we already know the whole situation with her, AJ Lee, and CM Punk, where she was, less than, I mean, depending on who you hear about that story, but she was less than courteous in that situation. And she works for ESPN, who has been promoting the hell out of that fight, yet she's taking it out on Triple H. Why don't you look at who you work for?
Oh.
So there you go.
So let's actually get a little bit of positivity in the room. So Keith, we got the questions, man.
That we do. We have our fair shake this week, I must say. And if you would like to send a question to the old podcast, you can do that by going to Twitter and visiting twitter.com/ByteThatCast, sending us a little question over there, or sending us an email at bytethatcast@gmail.com. All right, on to the questions. First one comes in from #Jerichoholic on Twitter at Ryan Brolsey. And he asks, if you guys could put an announce team together to replace the Three Stooges, I'm assuming he means JBL, Booker, and Michael Cole, who would that be and why?
That is, it's a very tough question. Off the top of my head, because I did not prepare for this, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I think I would probably do... Are we saying all time or...
All time, any promotion, who would make the three best announcer team people?
I think it would have to be Mike Tenay, Don West, and Taz.
Wow.
No, in all seriousness, I would probably go with JR, Matt Stryker, and who would be a good third? You guys got any suggestions?
Well, you think of that. I have my three ready because I actually did my homework.
Oh.
I would go from a 100% entertainment value because I think this would be an amazing trio, and that would be Vince McMahon, Jesse the Body Ventura, and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Ooh, that would be really good.
Just pure entertainment value. You got McMahon calling the shots, calling the moves. You got Jesse Ventura just kind of being like the middle ground guy. And then you have Bobby the Brain as the full-blown heel play-by-play. Or not play-by-play, color commentator. So it'd be a heck of a trio.
We're going to keep building up Ryan's third because it's that special. But
I'm just going to say Macho Man Randy Savage because anytime he spoke would be amazing.
Yeah, for me...
How much does that guy weigh?
Interesting. For me, it has to be the combination of Jim Ross, Paul Heyman, and Bobby Heenan. I mean, just thinking about that possibility.
I totally forgot about Heyman. Heyman is a great pick.
Jim Ross and Paul Heyman is my favorite combination because the contrast...
That's a real good combo.
Yeah, just picture those two, but you add, like, in his prime, Bobby Heenan... I don't care what match they put on TV. I will freaking watch the crap out of that. That would be an amazing team.
It's almost like the exact opposite.
His is a better answer.
It's almost like the exact opposite of the current commentary team where the team of Bobby the Brain and Paul Heyman could say nothing about the match, but you would love every single second of it.
3-hour Raw? How about a 5-hour Raw?
Agreed. Well, thank you, Mr. Ryan Brolsey, for your question. And on to the next question from Mr. Danny Whatley at Balboa's Bomber on Twitter. Bit of an interesting question. I don't know if we're fully qualified to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So he asks, question, fellas. Does the referee help wrestlers with spots and tell them what to do? Now, the reason why I want to bring this up is because, well, Juan, you have mentioned a few times that you work with a wrestling promotion down in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And Ryan not many people may know this about you, but you have a little bit of a wrestling background.
And bonus question, Ryan must reveal his wrestling name for the time he wrestled.
So Ryan and Juan, what are your experiences with like how a match is done and called and really put together?
Well, for me at least, I work on the production end of a TV show here. The referees are really important for, at least, obviously, I'm talking about the company here. I'm not referring to WWE or something, but just making sure that whenever they pull off specific moves, you know, like they do it towards the hard cam. A lot of times a wrestler may be doing a sleeper hold to the opposite side where there's no camera. In terms of timing, also, the referee is the one that has to keep the time, has to tell them to go home, which basically means wrap it up. They have about maybe a minute to finish the match. They have to know specific spots. Obviously, if the ref has to get distracted, if the ref gets knocked out, then magically another referee comes up. All those things for tag team matches also. So the referee is essentially the most important person in that ring because he's sort of the glue. Because a really bad referee, and I've had the opportunity of being with really good referees and really bad ones, a bad referee can kill the match when it comes to camera work, when it comes to commentary, when it comes to everything. Because if he starts pinning slowly for no reason, the match is dead. And we've had situations like that. So a really good referee can make a terrible match pretty much halfway watchable.
All right. Yeah. So when I was like 16, I did a little wrestling training, did a couple of matches that I had no business being in. Ryan Riggs is the name. You'll never find any footage. But I did a couple years ago also ref a couple matches. And yeah, it's the ref is good communication. Like, say there's a situation where a wrestler's on the outside and there's a wrestler in the ring, and you know they can't really call a spot when they're so far away because they're not just going to yell it out for the whole audience to hear. Sometimes the referee will be like the bridge of communication between two wrestlers. And also, like in a WWE situation, from my understanding, they have that earpiece. So anytime, you know, Vince or whoever needs to call a change in a match or any type of situation like that, the ref is the communication from backstage to what's going on in the ring. But as far as other regular moves, usually the wrestlers are calling that between each other. But, like Juan said, like for time limits and things and anything else from backstage will go through the referee, to my understanding.
Well, thank you both for those amazing answers. I have nothing to add to this conversation, so I will just move on to the next question. All right, final question of the show comes from the question master himself.
Get ready.
Mr. J4 Gaming. Now, this is either going to be a train wreck or it's going to be amazing. There's no middle ground.
It's going to be a train wreck.
Yes, of course. And Mr. J4 Gaming asks, tell Dean Ambrose's life story and how insane he became and all that other jib-jab. Here's the challenge, because there's always a catch with Mr. J4. I must be the narrator. Juan must play the role of Dean Ambrose. And then Ryan, he gets the fun role of playing literally everyone else in the story.
This seems so familiar to something we did about a year ago.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to leave that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Episode 17.
Fantasies. All right. So on the 7th of December, little boy Dean was born. By the way, I just learned right now me and Dean Ambrose share a birthday, and that's freaking awesome. Amazing. Okay. That's I'm speechless, except for the fact I'm talking. But on the 7th of December, one Dean Ambrose was born. One Dean had a very normal life, grew up in a mid-sized house, ma and pa, until about the age of 8. Then one day, tragedy struck.
Mom!
I hate you.
Why?
Dean's mother all of a sudden became uninterested in young Dean. As much as he tried, Dean just couldn't get the love of his mother anymore.
Mom, I'm gonna go to ZCW and become a wrestler.
Fine, get away from me, I don't care.
So on that day, at the tender age of 8 years old, one Dean went on a journey to go to the combat zone of wrestling.
I want live tubes my face, boy.
What's up? I'm Necro Butcher. I'm gonna make you bleed, kid.
Yeah.
And from that day forward until the tender age of 22, one Dean Ambrose trained under the aim of Necro Butcher.
I hate you. I'm gonna make you bleed.
Can I go to FCW now?
Upon that request, one Dean Ambrose ventured off to FCW, but around the time of being taken under the wing, or taken out of the wing, I should say, of one Necro Butcher, memories of his mother's disdain began to haunt him on his journey.
Oh, Seth. My mama didn't like me.
I still hate you. I still hate you.
Upon arrival in FCW, one Dean met a man who went by the name of Seth Rollins. They instantly bonded and became close training partners.
We should get a Samoan.
Hey, you want to see a picture? Just don't send it to anyone else.
What's that?
As their bond grew, they did find said Samoan that Dean looked for, in the name of Roman Reigns.
Roman?
Hey, what's up? Some people call me Leaky.
You should get that checked out.
But as his bonds grew, old memories still haunted you poor Dean. The memory of his mother just couldn't leave him, and he became more extreme and extreme. The old ways of the combat zone just weren't doing it for him anymore. He needed more and more and more, until one day he found Shannon Moore.
Renee, it's mastering time tonight.
Now, I'm not sure why he called Renee, or Shannon Moore Renee,
I'm not a poser. I'm not a poser.
We're going to look beyond that. So, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun with your friends, as they say, and
Dean Ambrose left Earth. His planet needed him. On the way there, he died of dysentery.
What? Okay. All right. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay.
This got out of hand quickly, didn't it?
Why?
hey,
why
he
did
said
you-
he said birth to death. So I'm
That was
following
the issue. I
KFA
was like
here.
the whole time, like, Jesus, we got like 40 years left, man.
Nope, that's called bringing that one home.
That went on long enough. I forgot it went to death. I was just like, why is he going to die at the end?
Indeed. So speaking of bringing it home, thank you for the questions, but Mr. McNulty?
All right, well, if you're still here, thank you. We want to thank everyone for
man.
listening to the Byte That podcast. Holy shnikes if you made it that far.
Why?
Remember, this is the family-friendly edition. Anyway, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. This coming week, hashtag SRT Square Round Table. We talk about superheroes and what they would do in wrestling. So you want to see that? I also recently did a video talking about the whole Stephanie McMahon on Jericho's podcast. A little bit of controversy there, so go check that video out. Don't forget about our other social media. Remember, you can find us on Instagram, posting pictures on Instagram.com/ByteThat, or just search Byte That. And you can also find us on Twitter @ByteThatCast, or like Keith likes to do, the direct link of Twitter.com/ByteThatCast. Either one works. And we got a Facebook too, Facebook.com/ByteThatCast. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week.